MJ, this is Leslie.
Hi.
Hello, nice
Michael.
to meet you.
Well, I already think we're going to have a great episode here. I think we're going to drive around a little bit and find a good spot to pull over and have some great conversation.
Sounds like fun.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So MJ, today on the show, or on the podcast, we have Leslie. And Leslie, I call her Leslie the Pony Lady. And I met her probably 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And so Leslie, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for tolerating us for the next 20 minutes or so. The thing, how I met Leslie was the police chief's boss a few years ago said she met you walking somewhere around the police department. It's on Wednesdays, I think it was. And she fell in love with you and the pony, and she asked if you could do what?
Well, she caught me cutting between the stadium and the Coliseum on a day when most of the students were gone, so campus wasn't too busy. And she asked to have a picture made with the pony. And I said, sure, come on, and let her pose with him. And then she handed me her business card and asked me if I would be interested in partnering with the Virginia Tech Police. And she said she had a great individual, Corporal John Tarter, to work with. And next thing I knew, I had you calling me.
So what did you think partnering with the police was going to entail?
Well, she said that it would be nice if we could use the pony to bring students in to learn about the programs. And I said, sure, we could come by a couple of times. And I really did think we were only going to be showing up maybe 1 or 2 times.
And how many times have we partnered with you so far?
It's somewhere between around 150 to 200 times that we've gotten together for appearances.
And I don't know if, MJ, where are we at now? Because we started this podcast, we've changed it up a little bit, right? Yeah. So we're on the road. Where are we at today?
Today we're out at the Horse Agricultural Arena area of Virginia Tech's campus. We've got a whole complex out here. So getting out a little bit in the more rural area of campus where we got, as appropriate with our guests, the horses going on. None in the background right now, but we're in the horse area.
Because driving that big RV around, you got to find a good place to park, and this was a great place. So, what questions might you have for Leslie? What have you been thinking about Leslie?
Well, I guess first, just for our big listening audience, tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm a Tech alumni. Graduated, I have to say, in 1979. I'll admit it. Grew up in Blacksburg. We moved here when I was 12 years old, when my father retired from the military early and ended up back here in Blacksburg. He had been with the ROTC at Virginia Tech before, fell in love with the area, so he brought his family back here.
Okay. And been in the area ever since?
Been in the area ever since. Fell in love with Tech, ended up working at Virginia Tech for a while and in the surrounding areas, and been here for a long time.
Yeah.
If you do the math, you'll have a long time.
Sure. Well, what's something that's changed a lot? Yeah, I'm sure there's a million things, but what's something that sticks out to you for Virginia Tech and the area?
With Virginia Tech, MJ, that's easy. When we first got here, Virginia Tech was very small, and we would come in from the farm that we lived on a very small road, Price's Fork. In fact, it was so small and so little traffic on it that I was able to ride my horse from the farm to town on the road.
Wow.
Back in those days.
Yeah.
Since then, it has just grown tremendously, and I am impressed with how beautiful Virginia Tech has grown into such a huge university. But as far as beauty goes, it's one of the prettiest I've ever been around. Prettiest universities, the landscaping, the buildings, everything. And a lot of good planning has gone into it.
Yeah.
So you rode your horse off campus. Would you say it's about 5-10 miles back in the day?
From the farm that we lived on, it would be 8 miles.
So, and you would ride onto the drill field. Now, did the police appreciate you riding your horse on the drill field back then?
No, when we were in high school, I had a very good, close girlfriend who had a horse. So I would ride my horse from the farm to her farm where we would overnight. And then the next day we'd get on our horses and cut the back way through to campus around the duck pond. And we loved to go and gallop on the drill field. And no, it was not appreciated by the Virginia Tech police.
So, you know, you went to Blacksburg High School,
Mhm.
you ran track there, I believe it was, or tried to run track. And you rode horses. You know, your dad was a pilot in the Air Force, I believe.
Yeah, fighter pilot.
And so, how did aviation come into your life? What did you do there?
Well, my senior year, that summer I went down. I had one more semester to complete at Virginia Tech. So that summer before that, I finished it. Well, actually, let me back up. We were on a quarter system then. So I had one more quarter to finish to graduate. So I went down to stay with my father in North Carolina where he was working at an aviation place. And that summer I decided to learn to fly and picked up my pilot's license.
Did you fly in and out of the Virginia Tech
Yes,
Airport?
I did.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Riding horses, flying planes, running around Blacksburg on foot. Did you do any bicycling? You were into bicycling?
Oh, yeah. We got into cycling big time eventually. And I had a women's cycling group that we started. We called it the Valley Girls. And,
nice.
And we grew into a pretty sizable group, and we had jerseys and everything, thought we were so cool, and we used to cycle around in this area a lot.
Yeah. So that was when you picked up flying, that was your last quarter at Virginia Tech. So tell us a little bit more about your experience at Virginia Tech. Did you live on campus, and what was it like?
No, I did not. I worked to go to Virginia Tech, so I worked at a local hotel as a banquet waitress.
Okay.
And to help supplement my income for going to Tech, because I was an art major at Tech, and it can be very expensive being in that curriculum with supplies and everything. To help save money, I decided to live off campus, and I would commute. So I was a commuter student and used to drive in and park in the big, vast commuter parking lot that used to be all gravel. And now they're turning it into a wonderful transportation community over there now.
Okay.
But it was over there behind Daring.
Yeah, near Perry Street there. Yeah, awesome.
Were you? I hear word on the street is you were a student athlete as well. Tell us a little bit about your student athlete.
Okay. Well, when I got here at Virginia Tech, I dated one of the Virginia Tech cheerleaders, and he told me, he said right up front, he said, "You're going to become a Virginia Tech cheerleader and I said, my first question was, why? Because I wasn't a cheerleader in high school. And he says, "Oh no, you need to be a Virginia Tech cheerleader because you'll get to go to all the great games and get right down on the field, and you're right there where the playing is."
So how long did you do that for?
I did it for 2 years.
2 years. So you didn't live on campus, but you had an amazing experience, I guess, growing up here and then living here. Did you work different places on campus?
Yeah, I worked 10 years at the vet school as a biomedical illustrator after graduating. I did not do any work as a student on campus. As I said, I worked off campus.
Did you work Pamplin or any other places on campus besides VetMed?
No. Well, after I finished with VetMed, I went freelance with my artwork, and I would contract with Virginia Tech to produce portraits around campus.
What kind of portraits would we see on campus or about campus?
There's a good number of boardroom portraits that were painted that hang in various buildings, like in Pamplin. There's several in Pamplin, and various buildings around campus. I did a lot of work for the Athletic Association and illustrating the athletes as well.
You know, I don't know if they can hear or not, but it's so cool that a horse is walking by as we speak. That's one of the great things about picking this site here is you have, what kind of horse is that if you had to guess?
It looks like a thoroughbred.
Well,
And we don't need the coconuts like they have. That was real.
So, we're talking about Ringo. We met you because of Ringo. Why do you have a miniature horse?
Well, I always had the love of riding. I've had a pony since I was 6 years old. I got my first pony then, and since then I've always had ponies or horses throughout my life. And I ended up with a quarter horse, a Texas quarter horse that I love to trail ride on. And the Texas quarter horse needed to have a stablemate, so I went looking for a miniature horse that I could partner that would keep my quarter horse company. And ended up finding these little mini ponies. Ended up getting two because if you're a horse person, you've got to have at least three, because if you take one off to go trail riding, the other, if you take one off or take another one off, you got to always have one to keep the other company. So you've got to keep some there. So ended up with the quarter horse and two minis, and then started working with the minis as yearlings, and it just progressed from there. And I realized how intelligent they were and how easy it was to train them. And I saw where Ringo especially would make a wonderful therapy animal. And so I started there.
And so, why were you on campus with Ringo the day the police department we met you? Why were you on campus with Ringo? What was the goal or the point of walking in?
Well, the campus provided the perfect um, arena for training a therapy animal, because you get a lot of different stimulation from like mowers, buses, people, traffic, crosswalks, different obstacles that you can use to train the mini to desensitize them to these elements that make them more comfortable when they go into other areas. And so it was just the perfect place to train.
Yeah. And you've done, like you said, a lot of events with the police department. You've done a lot of fun, different, interesting things. What's something that stands out in your mind as a highlight of like, wow, that was a really fun event, or really enjoyed bringing Ringo to that?
Well, it's been so varied, MJ. The thing that I find very, very rewarding is the reaction that we get from students when they meet Ringo.
Yeah.
And I never get tired of hearing that he made their day perfect. This was the best day of their life. I never get tired of that. We've taken him in almost all the buildings on campus, and he's been a little gentleman. He's very well trained, doesn't have any accidents. And I've told John before, it was really fun taking him on the stage at the Moss Center when President Sands gave his university address.
Yep.
A little nervous about that beforehand, but he walked out, did fine, and the therapy dogs were there.
Yeah.
Ringo enjoys the therapy dogs, and they interact quite well together. So
That's good. Yeah, I remember you going on stage. That was fun. That was nice.
Where would you like to go on campus that you haven't been yet with Ringo?
Eventually, I'd like to see his reaction if we stood in the Coliseum when a basketball game is going on and stood at just the end to see his reaction to the amount of noise and people in the crowd there. Other than that, we've been just about everywhere on campus. You've taken us everywhere.
I know that since I started working with you and Ringo, he has gotten used to a lot of scooters, skateboards, a lot of noises and things like that. Even first tall people, when I first started working with him, he was a little bit, because of the size, and he's smaller, but he's used to that too. What kind of training do you do at home with Ringo?
Well, and that's why being on campus was so important, to figure out what he needed to be to grow accustomed to. And once we got on campus and we realized that there are a lot of skateboards flying by and a lot of scooters flying by, we needed to work on that. So went out and bought a skateboard and started working with him on that and skateboarding around him, and eventually taught him to touch it and put his hoof on it, and he's not afraid of it now. Another thing were basketball courts where they're bouncing the basketballs constantly, the noise and the fast movements there. Play basketball around him now. Anything that we think is going to maybe cause him to hesitate, we try to work with him at the farm before he comes on campus.
And we with Ringo, we give out stickers. Where's Ringo stickers in order to get the students to follow us on Instagram. And the reason why is because then we can push out our messages on social media, our programs, our services. MJ, I don't know if you heard this, but we were having recently, we had a series of bike thefts. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes you can post stuff on social media, you can talk to students, but sometimes when we do these events, we'll do a bike safety segment, about locking your bikes up and things like that. As the horses come by, they had no clue we were going to be sitting here today.
I love it.
I think it is so cool to see the horses come by.
It's perfect sound effects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So where did you take Ringo before you met us, besides on campus? Like, he's a therapy pony, or
right?
Where would you take him at?
Ringo he's been down to local banks, the National Bank of Blacksburg, where he went inside to open an account. He's done that. He has his own little bank account. He has gone to the insurance agencies and gone in there because they insure him. We've been to assisted living. We've been in to visit assisted living, and we've gone back in dementia care and visited with patients there. We've been to the hospital for the children's events and to also meet with some of the emergency room staff out at our local hospital. He has been down to the Carilion School of Medicine and visited with those people down there. He's been to several children's events. Mm-hmm. He also did one reenactment event, historical reenactment event, where he was supposed to deliver messages that the children wrote to the governor in the Capitol, and it was during the Wilderness Trail Festival. He had to pick up the messages from them, and he was the delivery pony to deliver them to Richmond.
MJ, I don't know if you know this, but the parents are addicted to Ringo the Patrol Pony. Yeah. Because what do some of the parents do to get their kids to come over and find him? And how do we advertise where Ringo's going to be?
Oh, yeah. The parents, many times kids will come in when Corporal Tartar and I are working with Ringo, and they'll say, "Oh, my mom is just infatuated with this pony. She texted me and told me I had to get over there and get a picture with this pony." And we get that from both the female and the male students.
Yeah. And again, we try to do, like, I think this coming Tuesday, we're going to be at Pedro Yates. And so we're either going to talk about the Hokey Ready app. The other day we were at the Pritchard Rolo office, and we were pushing No Hokey Left Behind. Go together, stay together, and come back together. So any other questions you could think of about the pony or...
I think the questions that I have on my mind are more rapid fire.
Rapid fire time. Rapid fire.
Oh, no. Should I be afraid?
Yeah, very afraid. Very afraid.
A little recurring segment that we borrowed from other podcasts, where we just got some questions to know a little bit about you. We're just going to go rapid fire. So are you ready?
I'll try.
Okay, first up is hamburger or hot dog?
Oh, hot dog.
Hot dog, okay.
Sports car, fancy sports car, or old pickup truck?
Oh, easy, old pickup truck. If you can't put a hay bale in it, it's not worth having.
Okay, so then, to you specifically here, your interest, would you rather be flying a plane or riding a horse?
That one's tough.
Oh, MJ, this is a hard rapid one. I wonder if Ringo would fit in a plane.
Both at the same time.
Yeah, I'd love to fly. Yeah, and that would be fun.
All right, Virginia Tech football or Virginia Tech basketball?
Virginia Tech women's basketball.
Oh, very nice, very nice. I thought it was going to be a little tougher for you, but very nice.
I see. All right, now I've ran dry. Then, okay, we're a similar one, baseball or softball?
Baseball.
Okay.
I haven't seen one of the women's softball games, so I feel badly.
No, it's okay.
I need to do that.
Get you connected there.
Yeah, they might win me over. Yeah.
Word on the street is too that you are a recent grandmother. Is that true?
Yes.
And so, every grandparent, I have 2 grandkids, and you think about what are they going to call you? Grandpa, grandma, what specific name? Do you have a specific name set out yet?
I have a special little friend that lives near us. Her name is Mia. She's turned three years old the other day, and she has already dubbed me Lala.
Wow.
So it looks like Lala's going to stick as my grandma name with the new grandbaby.
Yeah, my grandchild has come out to your farm before and has actually ridden, my grandson has ridden on your other pony. And nobody rides Ringo, right?
No one rides
MJ
Ringo.
was really getting excited. He wanted to ride Ringo. But so the other pony has a little saddle, and the kids and even the neighbor dog will ride on that pony. But nobody rides Ringo. Is that correct?
No one rides Ringo. Ringo is a mini, and mini is a size, and he's under 34 inches. He comes in at 33 inches, and he is strictly for just as a therapy mini, and to work with people that in that aspect. The other mini I have is a little bit larger, and he can ride very small children.
So what advice, you do a lot of training, horses, you had a dog before, you probably trained it. Can you give MJ any advice on training animals? See, he has, I don't know if you noticed it, but once Ringo came into the picture at the police department, next thing you know, the detective squad had a bunny, a patrol bunny.
Yeah. Bunnies.
Yeah.
They came in, they had their patches. But yeah, I don't think they're quite as well trained as Ringo. They don't understand a whole lot in life other than treats.
Yeah.
Though they hear the treat bag, they come running and they'll stand on their feet, they'll do whatever you want. But how can I get them in a better spot for being trained?
Oh, well, I've never trained a bunny, but it sounds interesting. Food is a good motivator. It always is. And when we first started working with the minis, and they would get treats, and it's repetition, over and over and over until all of a sudden you see the little light bulb go on and they know, okay, I got it. And then all you have to do is say a certain word that you will repeat over and over, and they'll perform that task. Because they like to please. Minis love people, and they're usually very, very friendly with all ages and with other animals. And so they like to please, and they will definitely work for a reward.
Interesting. Okay, that might be one challenge to overcome, because I think the bunnies are afraid of all people, including me. It hurts my feelings, but it's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. The treats overcome that fear. Yeah. And they're willing to hang out with me if I have a...
Yeah, but they win the award for cuteness. I have to say that.
So Leslie, we do a lot of events, and what is the one question I usually ask the students is, why does the Virginia Tech Police Department have a pony? And the answer is?
Because we can.
Because we can, yeah. Well, we want to thank you for being on the podcast today. And we're going to, we picked you up at the police department. So unless you have a horse to ride back, we're probably going to give you a ride back.
I hope you do. And but John, you're a joy to work with. And I really appreciate everything you do, because you are really good with all of the students.
MJ says that to me every day. Every day. I hear that from MJ.
Like that.
Yeah. Thanks,
all
you guys.
right.
MJ,
Well, thank
nice
you.
meeting you.
Yeah. Everybody, we're back here with MJ's Legal Corner, one of the just best parts of the podcast, because everybody loves a little Virginia State Code.
Love state code.
Yeah, especially when it's relevant to the community.
Never get enough.
Yeah. So let me pull out one today that unfortunately some members of our community get a little confused about and think things are just a little joke when it's actually a crime. So we're going to go with property damage today, okay? Virginia State Code 18.2-137, injuring any property. If any person unlawfully destroys, defaces, damages, or removes with the intent to steal any property, and if that person is not the owner of such property, intentionally causes that injury or damage, he is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor if it's less than $1,000, or if it's more than $1,000, it's actually a Class 6 felony. So I'll call out just a few people have made some mistakes on campus. You think it's kind of a funny joke or a prank to break a piece of your dorm, like smack an exit sign or break the water fountain. Well, not so much of a funny joke when your hallmates are having to pay for the damage and you could be charged with a crime. I'll give a little inside scoop to the community here. When I work in investigations, number one thing that might get you caught doing these crimes is when you're community members, your hallmates or something like that, are having to pay for those damages, they're going to be pretty incentivized to speak to the police about who did it. So it's just not a good idea. There's a lot of funnier things you can do than damage some property on campus or stuff like that, you know, especially when it's a crime.
You know, and the reason why we have exit signs that are so important is because if there was a fire in the building, you need to know how to get out of that building.
Yeah.
Especially if there's smoke in the hallway or in the room or things like that. So it's a safety factor.
Yep, and unfortunately, you know, we do our jobs here. We have charged some people with a crime for destroying those. So if we find you, that's something the residential staff takes seriously, we take seriously. Not so much of a funny joke, so just avoid that, and you know, it can be a crime. So
Amazing Legal Corner.
thank you. That's all for today for MJ's Legal Corner. We'll see you all next time.
Well, as we promised, we brought you back to the police department. MJ, any parting words?
No, I think that was a great episode. Thanks for talking with us. We appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and I think everybody's going to enjoy hearing what you have to say. So
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
yeah, and we'll see everybody else next time.